porcini mushroom or a shiitake mushroom. There's, a little bit of that.
Yeah, so I worked on getting that flavor profile because the rice paper, there's no regular rice, but there's the rice paper, which brings in the rice flavor, and then there's the nori, which is, on all sushi, when you're making the sushi rolls, and then using the rice vinegar and the tamari is very, very much that, and then with some of the fresh vegetables in it, so it's got like this, so I was able to capture some of that flavor profile. Yeah.
You're a marvel. That's what
oh, thank you. And then are you ready for some sweets? I finished that one.
Okay, yeah.
And then we'll get to the sweets in a minute. And you were going to ask a question about my Portland, my Tacoma, my Seattle. Yeah, Tacoma.
I knew you were going down to Washington State, so I wasn't sure whether you'd been already on the first leg or not.
Right. So I've been down to Washington 3 times already on my tour so far. But this last one, I went down to Tacoma and I spoke at the University Place Library, and I spoke about gluten and dairy and sugar and about basically about empowering people with regard to understanding why these are issues, and then for some people, and also mostly looking at bio-individuality, that we're all different. So some people may have more issues with certain kinds of foods than others, but we're all different.
I don't think you've met our son, you haven't met Lane. You haven't met Lane.
No, I haven't.
And I should get him to, I don't even know what he's doing this afternoon. He was getting his haircut this morning, but that's a big deal. But they just shave these with guys these days, it's the number 6 or something, and it's all gone. Not like me. But he's actually very careful with his diet. He actually, he's in the gym 5 days out of 7. But he said just like a month ago to me, what really is gluten and why might it be bad for me, sort of thing. And I didn't have the answers, but you would, and you've got solutions.
Yeah, well, gluten is associated with a protein that's in a lot of grains. So grains like wheat, barley, rye, spelt, kamut. There's certain kind of grains that are from the grass family. But see, the protein itself is not really digestible in the human body. So we can't fully digest it. And so for anyone, the body has to work a little harder to digest it.
That's the danger, so to speak.
That's not necessarily danger. That's just sort of a given. But then the danger is there's some people's immune systems that react really. It gets very angry about having that protein in its body, and it starts to attack itself, and that's what happens in celiac disease. But there's also people who are just allergic to the grains, to gluten, like wheat and such. But there's also a lot of people now who seem to be what's called gluten intolerant, and they don't really know exactly what that's about. They don't know why, but the symptoms can look just like celiac disease. But when they get the blood test, they can come up negative on celiac disease. So there's a lot of mystery. They're just now, the scientists are just trying to figure out what's going on. So it's a really exciting time. So it's a good question.
Apart from meeting him, I like to actually let him listen to you go into that, because he's very careful about his diet, but if there's and he's not allergic to anything, so he might be one of the safe ones with gluten.
Yeah, his body may not react so much. So
and about 25% of the population. I've heard that number. Does that ring any bell at all?
Not
Maybe?
to me.
No.
Not to me. And right now I think the numbers are hard to really capture. There is about 1 to 2% people who are diagnosed with celiac disease. So it's about that. I've heard numbers of around 9% or so seem to be gluten intolerant. Allergies, I think it's in that low, like 1, 2, 3, really low range as well. But there's been, I heard Dr. Amy Myers speaking about how she thinks that there may be at least 50% of the population may actually be gluten intolerant. And if you think about if the human body is unable to digest the gliadin protein, that perhaps there's other issues too, and I just wonder, is it good for any of us? I don't know. So the great thing is, it's not about being the police about saying what's good or not good. I'm just saying, hey, if you decide you want to just drop that and make it easier on your body, or whether or not you have a problem, or not take a risk, then I have recipes that you can still have delicious food. You can have pumpkin pie without the gluten, without the dairy, because if you do have any digestion digestive problems, then oftentimes there's difficulty with the lactase is not as accessible in the lining of the body. So if people have problems with lactose intolerance, you've probably heard of that. You can have, because a lot of people are sugar sensitive. So I have this here. Taste this. This is a I use a this is diabetic friendly in depending upon what chocolate you use for the inside, which is the peanut butter coconut chocolate candy melts. These have only 1 tablespoon of maple syrup in like 60 candies, and so with that, depending upon what that, so both of these are diabetic friendly. And then the other thing that, again, the sugar sensitivity is been under talked about. Gluten is getting more popular. Sure.
Thank you.
This frosting has no sugar, has no margarine, no butter. It's a totally different concept, and it is totally diabetic friendly. I use 2 tablespoons of maple syrup and 3 cups of frosting. So, when we have holidays, people don't have to hurt themselves, especially those who are sensitive to sugar.
That's very nice. That reminds me a lot of cream cheese with maybe a little something sugary, which I love. Unfortunately, I'm not a sugar junkie, but I like sweet things. That's
So
very nice.
This gives you an alternative then. And I've actually had that same feeling about that, and it's something I'm actually going to play around with, I think, and about maybe making some sort of a cream cheese frosting at some point, using some of the base concept I have there, but then bringing in, I have to figure out how I want to bring in that cheese flavor. I oftentimes use probiotic powder to get some of that, but I'm wondering if I want to do something to enhance it more. I haven't figured that out yet. That's a future project that'll probably take months or years to.